So quickly, I'll just summarize what I've spoken in the morning. We know that China is going to storm the market, and very soon, within the next 10 years or 8 to 9 years, we're going to see every 2 products in the luxury market will be purchased by the Chinese, mainland Chinese. And the second point, niche brand on the rising, and I spoke about some niche brand of Singapore brands. As long as you build very well on the competency and make your brand exceptionally good in certain attributes, you will become a good niche brand that will be highly sought after, especially by the millennials. Eco-luxury is here for long haul, and today, eco-lux actually sells. The 4th point, new business models are rising every other day, right? And because of technology, brands like Warby Parker, brands like Rent a Runway, these are the rental model, and they are growing phenomenally worldwide. And last but not least, we talk about the last part. Personalization, the use of technology, the use of AI to help you to really deepen your knowledge of the customers. And I'm going to go into a next thing. There's, if you don't mind, just next model. We talk about this thing in the morning as well. It's so important that we need to build our competency, but the competency need to build around a mission around the organization. And as you can hear from the panel, in the afternoon and in the morning, it's important today because the millennial cares about your mission statement, right? So you need to tell the story why you founded the business and why is it important that your business has a market need that they are serving in the marketplace. But that being said, it's just a dream if you do not know how to build your competency. And from a competency point of view, we need to use innovation to strengthen the competency, and need to use innovation to strengthen the brand positioning. And only then, when your brand is good and strong, you can start inching forward into the international marketplace. And that's where it becomes an infinite loop. Over and over again, it strengthens each and every component. As I mentioned in the morning, I've been trained as an engineer at the first degree. I always like to use model for simplicity's sake, and so that we're able to use this for discussion. So I'm going to join in the panel discussion now. Okay, the first question, if you don't mind, I'll go back to the model. Yeah, right. So based on the defining questions on the 4 components of building brands, I'd like to ask each and every one of the panel here. Based on experience, in building brands, you need to work on your competency, you need to make sure that it's aligned with your mission statement, you need to ensure that you use innovation as part of strategies to strengthen your brand. But how do you know you're doing it rightly? So that's a question, the first question. So I'm going to go around, and then from my right, from this side, and then go this way clockwise. So I'll start with Yvon first. Yeah, and you heard about her story, right? And now you literally see the founder here. Isn't it awesome and great? Can we have a round of applause for Yvon, please?
Thanks, Luke. You're too kind. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Yvon. So the brand Hegen, we started off the whole conceptualization in 2011. At that point, we already visualized, envisaged ourselves to be a global brand. And to be a true global brand, we tell ourselves there are 35 international key markets that we must set our foot in. So we actually set a very structured plan. How do we embark onto this whole journey? Yeah, and during this whole brand conceptualization process, how do we know we are on track? We actually engage our consumers very heavily. Yeah. So, for example, we reach out to our target audience through focus groups. So we work on a yearly focus groups. And then secondly, we want to make sure that we also learn from the experts. For us, it's about breastfeeding. So we work very closely with the lactation specialists in each different local markets and understand what is their culture, what are the taboos, etc. And then we also work closely with like baby fairs, trade fairs, so that we can engage face-to-face. And then also social media. It's one of the very powerful medium that we get to know our community and let the mothers tell us what they need and see things from their perspective so that we know that we are always evolve with how their needs evolve.
Fantastic, Yvon. Thank you so much. Yeah, you really gave us a lot of insights. I'm going to move on to Sabrina. Likewise, you heard her story in the morning. And also, can we have a round of applause for her, please? Yeah. So, Sabrina, how do you know that you're getting it right? Especially now you're in 100 over cities, right? Sabrina.
Adding on to that, so like Yvonne, the same thing is, think as a brand, when I started a brand, when you look at customized skincare, it's like, what's that, you know? And especially working with Japanese is not the easiest, definitely, and disrupting $1 billion, you know, I don't know how many billions, probably like $40 billion of skincare market in the world. And it's literally David versus the Goliath, right? But what I think is a milestone when you looked at it is, you did well, is when New York Times, WWD looked at you and say, hey, that's a very fresh perspective of doing skincare and how you care for your consumer, looking at big data, analyzing your skin online, because this is what you touch most every day, right? That is from not only the KOLs, of course, being well loved by different influencers or global influencers of the world without having to pay them. I think authentic word of mouth is a very, very key signal. You can see that, especially when it's a global KOL that is talking about you. Third, I would say when LVMH come knocking at the door and say, hey, why don't you open up in all the Sephora stores? And that is the CEO himself. Then I realized, actually, I think there is a market to globalize the brand, and that was 3 years ago, about 3 to 4 years ago. So from a retailer, from a social media, from the KOL, and of course, fourthly, people, right? People is a very important aspect of the business. When you have very key talents wanting to join you and love the brand and equally passionate about the vision of the brand, I think there's a good signal of you have truly disrupt the market or you have innovate yourself in that space, which is scaling customized skincare.
Fantastic, Sabrina, right? I think she is sharing that the endorsement by the media, by the KOL, by their business partner and the talent is a good showcase that they are moving in the right direction. Well said, right? And we also have talked about Scanteak in the morning. We know that Scanteak furniture lasts a long time, right? And they are also a very eco-lux kind of a business model. Every tree that's cut down, they're going to be replaced. And that message actually sells quite well to the younger folks. And I think they have grown quite well in the regional, especially in Taiwan and Japan. I would like to hear from Jamie. How do you know that you are getting it rightly?
So this company, just a bit of history, is started by my parents, my father. I am the oldest of 3 kids. The business is about 40 years old now, over 40 years old. And I think the answer to what your question is probably a good, I think the first two, Yvon and Sabrina actually mentioned it very well. Endorsement by your customers is your number one. They will vote with their dollar because there's so many different competitors out there. If they choose you, perhaps you're doing something right. So I think the biggest answer is we keep our ears open over the years because in furniture, retail, trends change all the time. First, houses are so big. And then houses become smaller, and then now the BTO houses are very tiny. In Taiwan, they like the bigger the better, the cooler it is. In Japan, the smaller the better because there's no space. Singapore is a melting pot. You have a bit of everything. You have people, you have the millennials, you have the slightly older generation. So again, because we internationalize, we have about 146 stores, and we're also opening up new brands as we speak. We have the leather brand, because we heard from consumers that they are also looking for quality leather products, not just teak products. We have mattress brands, because right now they're looking for quality mattress products. So we listen. And number two, also, of course, the industry endorsements. As what Sabrina has shared, we have in Taiwan, we actually won the Forbes Best under $1 billion company. And so endorsements by certain brand awards can also show us that perhaps you're going in the right direction. Last but not least, today, it's all about analytics, business intelligence, about numbers. What, for example, which furniture sells well, which outlet's doing better, which country sells what products better. All these numbers also tell us if we're doing okay or not.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Yeah. Can we have some encouragement, please? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So what Jamie has mentioned is really about the same as shared by Sabrina and Yvon, and customers will be your best endorsement through their dollars that they vote for your company and through all the awards. And it's amazing that the 40 years old company has continuously evolving and re-innovating, and at the same time rejuvenating itself to reach out to the younger audience. Now I'd like to move on to Robyn. Right, Robyn runs an amazing organization that has altogether 30 over companies collectively, and they are in the luxury integrated travel industry. Maybe I'd like to hear from the travel point of view. How do they know that being a conglomerate, right? How do they know that they're getting it rightly? Robyn.
Well, I think I'm in a fun business, and the two meaning to it. One is FUN, and really bringing fun to travel. And the other one is, of course, the financial part of the business to be sustainable. But we are in the business of seeing is believing. I mean, unless you are convinced that what you have seen is what the consumer would love to see, you can't have a sustainable model. And what we have done in the past is having 32 brands, we carefully curate the lifestyle of an individual human being in the traveling lifestyle. So at every touch point of their life, you need to have something for them. Because just like buying a car, when you come out to start working, you go for a basic model. And when you reach a certain stage of your life, you go for a mid-range model. And when you are very successful, you go a very high-end model. And it is that trend of thoughts that we start to build products and services, whether it's in our hotels, in our ship, that enables our people to deliver, and our company tagline says it all, driven by service. And if you go to our hotel in our castle, we have a huge castle in Ireland, the general manager is on the ground every day. So he gets the first-hand knowledge of whether somebody is very unhappy with the breakfast, or he's extremely upset with the bed not being made up. And if you go on our ship, different people have different interpretation of luxury. To some people, the room with the best fabric is luxury. To the millennium, where is the password for the Wi-Fi? And I tell you, dealing with this whole range of the definition, it's tough. Because while you have the Wi-Fi and the room is not good, you satisfy a segment and you piss off the other segment. So we need to understand, and technology helps us to do that, the CTQ. When we receive the consumer feedback, it's not just for the sake of collecting the data, it goes into a full analysis of consumer satisfaction from arrival to the end of it. But that's not the end of the engagement. It's also to follow up, because our business is not what a one-off, because we believe that our customers start at 5 and you can leave 105, we want you. So that is the crucial part of whether we have made it as a brand or as a company if your customer come back. If you don't hear from them, something is wrong. So the whole process of managing human behavior, human aspiration, and the different age group, it's very key to our understanding of whether we've got it right or we have not. And all the regional presidents of the globe, I mean, we operate in every continent, every one of us have to do different trips. Like I go to Africa, I go for animal migration, and I need to understand if this segment of the product is suitable for the Americans, whether the Chinese like it. And the Chinese interpretation of luxury versus us is entirely different. So the whole process of understanding human behavior, it's key to the success. For bigger companies, you have all the data. For smaller startups, you need to know where you start and make sure that you start and follow through and understand where it leads you to. So for the travel, I think it's more complex than the physical product, because it's intangible. How you measure, it's a very different word of understanding how it works. Yeah.
The more he speaks about travel, I really feel like going for holiday now. Huh? I'm sure you have the same feeling as well. So customer segmentation, find customer segmentation and understanding the behavior, and using technology to analyze the behavior and work accordingly. Thanks, Robyn. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to our last group, Alfred and Ken, right? I understand that you guys have a lot of experience in the hospitality lifestyle industry. Maybe you'd like to share a little bit about your experience in journeying through some of the clients.
Okay, I'm Alfred and this is Ken.
Hello guys, I'm Ken.
Yeah. So we are business partners for the curious people. I will let him talk more about the background of our agency in terms of fulfilling the question. And I will talk more about my personal experience in terms of luxury. In terms of career, I start from very humble beginnings. I was selected to join the Ritz-Carlton in New York, to open Ritz-Carlton in New York, in Battery Park during September 11. And prior to joining the Ritz-Carlton, my impression of the Ritz-Carlton is something very, very stuffy, very traditional, very classical, full of chandeliers and gold gildings here and there, right? Very heavy curtains, right? So that was my impression of the Ritz-Carlton before I joined them. Not till when I joined them in 2001, I discovered that I was selected to join the Ritz-Carlton that I could not even tell it was the Ritz-Carlton. When I arrived at the building, the outside of the building, I thought it was a Hilton, or I thought it was a W, you know, because it was so clean lines. You don't see the logos, you don't see any frills, nothing at all. Then later on, I realized that, I'm supposed to open two Ritz-Carlton. One in Battery Park. Battery Park is the part where it is just next to Wall Street, and it's about 1.5 blocks down from the Twin Towers. And the other Ritz-Carlton is the Ritz-Carlton at Central Park. Now, Central Park is the one that is like very ornate, very traditional. So why is there this difference? I later found out that it is all because of one word. And that was during my management orientation. So the COO came down personally to orientate us, and he asked us this question to the class. He asked, are we in the business of luxury, or are we in the business of innovation? So a lot of people mention luxury. Mostly they mention luxury. So me being the only Singaporean in the room, cannot lose, right? So I try not to answer too soon, you know? So I let the rest answer first. Then I said, maybe I should choose something different, huh? Because coming from Singapore, no natural resources, we were innovative, that's why we succeeded. So I said, we are in the business of innovation. And he said, oh, you're right. Luckily, he did not ask me why. So he answered it for me. So his answer was this. The Ritz-Carlton started as something very traditional. Now, if we do not innovate, we will be dead. And that's the reason why we have two Ritz-Carlton in one city, in just New York City itself. And that's what he said. And why is it about innovation? Because the Ritz-Carlton that we know charges maybe $500-800 a night for a entry-level room, just a standard room, not even a suite, right? Now this caters to the customer, the clientele of the past, the old money, you know, where money used to grow from trees. Now we have a new breed of customers. And he says, we are not talking about millennials. We are not even talking about that yet, okay? Because millennials will grow old. When they grow old, their taste in luxury changes, and it will be very aligned with their parents. So they are talking about the business travelers, the young business travelers. So there's this new breed of travelers who travel for business, who likes no frills and whatever. They are cash rich, but time poor. So because they are time poor and cash rich, that brings about us innovating, you know. And the toughest thing to do for a luxury brand like the Ritz-Carlton is how to give less but charge the same amount of price. You get what I mean? Yeah, that is the thing. The thing about luxury is how to charge the same amount of money and still deliver less things, because this is what this new breed of customer wants. They want lesser frills because they are rushed for business. They want consistency. They don't need all these chandeliers and whatever not. You know, when they dine at your restaurant, you do not need to do crumb down and whatever silver service, whatever. They don't care for such things, right? They just need you to know their needs and cater directly, exactly to that need, wherever they are. If they are on business trip to Macau today, and next week they are on a business trip to Dubai, everything about them have to be replicated exactly. Okay, even though you cut across different culture, different language, different religion, this same little quirk has to be replicated. So how to deliver that? It takes great innovation. So to answer that question, that's how I realized that the company has succeeded.
Thanks, Ken. Did I get it? Ken or Alfred?
Alfred.
Alfred, sorry, mix up.
Yeah.
Alfred, so thank you for sharing. It voice now to innovation, keeping the brands alive, right?
Yeah.
So, so Ken, can I come back to you later on because I have a couple of other questions. So you guys take turns to share. I'll love to hear you speak later on, right? Now I'm going to go into the second question, right? Because I have a big panel, so I have to make sure that the time allocation is all appropriately done. I will combine the second question and the third question together. And so essentially, we all know that most of you guys have gone international or gone regional. And it's so important that as you go regionalize your company as part of internationalization motion of building your competency. And of course, you got to do localization, contextualization. I'd like to hear this part of the experiences that you've gone when you go overseas. That part, I'm sure the audience would be love to hear them. As you go international, you also will be leveraging on technology, leveraging on AI. There's new buzzword. I'm sure some of you are already thinking on doing that. But you could combine these two topics together. How do you strengthen your core as you internationalize? How do you use technology to do so, right? So again, likewise, go clockwise, huh? Not Yvon first, right?
Okay, your first question is about the cultural diversity, the challenges of going localization, right? So Hegen's business is about breastfeeding. So imagine, right, some markets, this word is actually a very sensitive word. Yeah. So imagine going to, so first experience to the Middle Eastern customers, this word cannot be used, all right? And our marketing collaterals have to be very sensitive to the, the modesty and the cultural differences. So it was part of a very exciting and also challenging journey when we step out. So that was, we learned. Luckily, we learned because we work very closely with our international partners, our local partners. So they told us about it. And spend time in the market, do your homework, get to know the people there. Like how to use different vocabularies by expressing out the same words. And for example, when we enter China, which is one of our biggest market, everybody in China raised one child with 6 parents. Parents, the father, mother, the grandparents, so parents of parents. So all together, we call it 6 parents. Really is little emperor, Xiao Huangdi. So when we go in there, knowing this as a foundation, how we adapt our marketing to involve not just the parents, the decision makers, we involve the grandparents, the whole family. So it makes them like, okay, so you actually care about how I feel, using this bottle is not just about daddy, mommy, or the child. The gong gong po po also involved. So that is how we kind of work around, all this diversity. Then as for technology, for our products, well, feeding a baby, primarily we have to relay, the medium is a feeding bottle. So how we tap onto technology? So first, we work very closely in the factory with our engineers to come up with innovation, breakthroughs, of how to process, improve in technology, using technology to improve the process in making the products, to totally revolutionize a product. So technology to us is not just having an electronic in the product, it is how to use technology to simplify the product design, to make it more human-centric. And then number 2, retail experience. So this is a work in progress. We understand that having a child, feeding a child, and this whole breastfeeding journey is a very personal journey. And moms want to know that they are part of this community. So how we are now work in progress, designing some retail experience. We are going to roll out all this activation soon. And then number 3, social media. I think this is a real jungle that must not be overlooked. Yeah. And we really enjoy the interactions, the opportunities, how fast a message can be conveyed through social media and engaging with our Hegen community. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hey, I think she has shared very well. Would you mind a round of applause for her? Yeah. I think it's culture contextualization. Every country is different. I like the sharing about the China context. 6 parents taking care of 1 kid. Wow. And also manufacturing technique using technology, and also experiential store using tech, and at the same time, use of social media. The moment when Yvon was actually doing a showcase in Taiwan, when they just launched in Taiwan, I immediately text her, congratulations. That's how news travel through social media. Now coming to Sabrina, right? Sabrina, as mentioned, internationalization is already part of game plan from day 1. You have grown very well. You have partnered with Sephora, opening store into 100 over cities now, and I'm sure you have challenges trying to localize the dynamism of different countries behave differently. How do you do that? We're all curious, and also how do you use technology to leverage on the growth?
Right, I will tackle the 2 questions into one, because skinning is born digital from day 1. I came from tech industry for 11 years. As you know, if you go to iloveskinning.com, the first thing that prompts you is to do your skin check or the skin ID. So it's like a skin coach online where we put together algorithm with the beauty expert, P&G scientists for 30 over years that could tell you how your skin is affected by the stress or the lifestyle, or like if you sleep. Like I was in a Bruno Mars concert last night, so I slept less than 8 hours, right? And my skin is slightly different today or more difficult today. So basically, if you drink a lot, if you smoke a lot, all this affect your skin. So for that, the blessing is skin, everybody has skin, and that's the biggest organ of your face, of your body, right? So what I would say that what is really important, isn't white skin and dark skin and Asian skin different? Yes, genetically they are different, but the core fundamentals or building blocks of healthy skin does not change, just like your body. You need vitamin A, you need sunlight, you need vitamin C's just to have brighter, clear skin. So what it does affect, then it detects, because of the skin check, it's able to detect pollution in that city, right? Because your IP address will tell me where you log in from, how many hours of sleep. Actually, we are looking at working with mobile company that could tell you, if you know your iPhone actually track your sleeping pattern, because the moment you touch it and how long the next time you touch it, if you press the button on your clock, it actually show you your sleep analysis. So this is how we think that is really important to leverage how your skin changes due to your different lifestyle environment. And that has been with us for day 1, and we have millions of skin checks done through that. Also, last week we were awarded the Facebook Success Case Study for the whole Asia and across beauty category. The reason is it enabled us to really segmentize or market to the right audience. If you went to my website and you think that, I want to see more of that, they will push you more of the ads, right? So it's really tailor 1:1 kind of tailor-made marketing, more than, or customization message, more than just, skinning just won a Harper's Bazaar award, please buy us. It's not that, it's actually what you search for that we are able to track from even my website, that we know what message to share with you that is of interest of you, and hence therefore that helps a lot with the conversion. So there's only the skin ID part or how you embed big data or AI into the ecosystem. But I would like to also touch on which is more relevant into the retail space when we go to Sephora or Nordstrom in the US versus Sephora in China. It is diverse, right? The American audience is more, they see the wrinkles, then they fix it, right? Whereas in Asia, I don't want to see the wrinkles, it's preventive. So the age group actually, there's a 10 years age gap. Hence the lingo you use is anti-aging versus preventive anti-aging. You know, it's very different. And then we had a product that did really, really well in Asia. It's called the Snow White mask. And the white word was literally, with FDA, we literally had to change the entire packaging. We have to rebrand the whole product so that it's relevant to the market. So in context, it's not that technology totally take away everything that you need to, you know, it take away everything. But most importantly, there's still some, once you touch retail or you touch people, you know, and as Singaporean, like in the audience, you know, our energy is always we listen more, you know, we don't really ask so many questions, but whereas when we train an American trainer, is that everything is absolutely amazing. So your lingo also has to localize, and from a culture perspective, it's just very important. Even you say the same thing, you have to say it in a different tone of excitement. And that is what I learned. And after every media meet in US in the night, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. Right? Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sabrina. Thank you. A round of applause for her. Audience, data proves Sabrina wrong, okay? Ask as many questions, especially from Singapore, okay? All right. So I think the company Skin has born as a digital company, so that allow her to track every single movement, every single data of a customer, allow her to customize and serve a customer a lot better. And I love hearing the story about how diversified the skincare industry in the US and China. I'm not sure about Singaporean. Are Singaporean more preventive or more like a US market? We are quite preventive as well. Okay, so, all right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Now let's focus our attention on Jamie, right? And Jamie has lead Scanteak as well. I think the family business has gone deeply penetrated in Taiwan, and at the same time, her brother is leading the Japan expansion, right? So it's very interesting family business model, and each of the siblings look after one market, and the dad look after the Taiwan market. And so it's interesting to understand how being a family within our own ecosystem or family ecosystem, how do you interact and share information, and how do you localize, contextualize, and how do you use technology?
Okay, I think in the interest of time, what I'll do is probably just share with you a few examples of getting into the Japanese market, since I think a lot of Singaporeans love to go to Japan. Now, Japan has a very distinctive culture, and that's why we like to go there. But it also makes business a little bit more challenging because the culture is different. So to answer Luke's question, my brother takes Japan, my dad takes Taiwan, I do Singapore, and I do all their marketing things. And as much as a company, we want to do economies of scale. So for example, if we want to print banners, we are trying to say, okay, summer sale. We just want to have the same thing, and if the more we print, you know, obviously it's more affordable, we get more ROI. However, our teams always get into conflicts. So let me give you an example. For one of the window display, we came up with a very Scandinavian summer-looking theme where we use silhouettes, very clean silhouettes of children sitting on a bench. And Singaporeans love it because it's very Scandinavian, it's very simple, it's very clean, it's very minimal. The Taiwanese are okay with it because they're very, in Chinese it's 崇洋, they like what the foreigners like. When I went to Japan, they looked at me and they said, I'm sorry, we cannot implement this. I said, why not? I said, well, in the Japanese culture, this is like a ghost. So you're like putting it there and telling everybody we have ghosts in our furniture store. I'm like, okay, great, now we know. Okay, so another learning experience for us was when we started opening the first 3 stores in Japan. The culture we wanted to develop is feel at home. What does feeling at home mean? When your friends come to your house, the first thing you go, hey, welcome, come on in, take off your shoes, do you want a drink? So we try to execute that across our regions. When you come into the store, we do have drinks for you. We want the staff to be interactive. We don't want them to just stand and then you walk past, you know. However, in Japan, we notice they'll greet you, they'll bow, and then that's it. They kind of stand far, far away until the customer needs help. But usually a customer walk one round and they get out. So we went to the salesperson, we're like, why don't you try to engage the customer? You know, you don't have to harass them. Just go, hi, welcome to the store. Let me know if you need anything. My name is so-and-so. And, you know, offer them a drink. And they said, no, we cannot do that. It's very rude. I said, really? It's very rude? I said, yes. You don't disturb your customers when they walk in. Unless they need you, you don't approach them. I said, okay. So again, and our SOP need to change. But we try to do it in a slightly more friendly approach. When you say hi, say with a smile. When you stand, don't stand that far away. You know, stand slightly closer by, so in case you see they need anything, before they leave, you can try to get contact. So these are just some of the teething deals we have to deal with going forward, where we have to understand the culture. And that's the same for the Taiwanese. The Taiwanese, on the other hand, are super, super nice. They're super friendly. You know, go and go, 欢迎光临. When you leave, they go, 谢谢惠顾, and they're so friendly. And Singapore, we're a good mix of, you know, in the middle. You know, you don't be overly friendly. They'll be like, what do you want? And you don't be too standoffish. They go like, wow, bad service. Like, they don't care about me. So I think culture means a lot. That's my first point. As for technology, unlike Skin Inc., we started with brick and mortar. Back in the day when my father started the business, there's no such thing as the internet. So when I came in, my goal was to digitalize and transform and try to make it as digital as possible. I brought in automation, I brought in the internet, the website, and today what we're trying to do is to do machine learning. So with all the digital stores, with online, they have a wealth of information based on analytics. We don't. So I'm trying to get a bunch of IT students from SMU to work with us to find patterns, because I have a lot of data of my consumers, of course, aligning to the PDPA Act. We don't give consumer details, maybe we give zip code of where they live. And maybe certain, you know, we don't tell them exactly what sofa they buy, but they're buying sofas. I believe there are patterns, so I'm trying to extract patterns, as you find in analytics, to find different patterns for the different customer groups in the different parts of Singapore. So let me give you an example. Everybody knows rental is very expensive, right? So let's say I've only have 2,500 square feet of space to play with. If the patterns tell me that my Juchet store is having a higher amount of people buying dining sets in June or July, then I can try to feature more of my dining sets and perhaps less of whatever is not working, and I can do it on a cyclical basis. It's not a one-time project, but I want to do it running. So I can have these numbers running. So we're trying to do a lot of offline to online to offline kind of a model, including omni-channel. So what you buy online, what you buy offline is highly similar. So we're trying to approach technology in towards the customer experiential level.
Thank you, Jamie. I think today we really gained a lot of insights from all this sharing. Wonderful. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, like Robyn, I'd like to hear from you as well, from a travel industry point of view, right?
I like to say all of the above. I think what the previous speakers mentioned are quite consistent with the operations that we do, but I just like to in the interest of time, and I keep it short, is local knowledge. I think it's very important in all the continents, in all the markets that we have local knowledge. And we call ourselves United Nations on tour, because on every tour, on every ship, there will be every nationalities with different expectations, different likes, different dislikes. And I would like to also add on the previous speaker mentioned, it's the knowledge of your travelers. I spent awful a lot of time in Europe, and coming from Asia, our skin color does not necessarily define who we are, because the same color could be from Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. So I spend a lot of time training all my European tour directors who have to deliver the service, because the same joke that they crack, the Aussie will laugh to the ground. The Indians and the Chinese and perhaps the Japanese will be very offended. So those are the very difficult things that you really need to understand every single culture that we operate in. And the way to do it, don't think that you know them all. We get every market, we listen to them, we reenact with them, and we try to do things to have a more under-the-skin knowledge of their likes and dislikes. So it's in a very complex ecosystem of understanding human behavior, let alone coming from delivering the intangible part of the business, is to do that. Training, because we are very much a B2B, we are a product owner. We own hotels, we own the ships, so we don't retail it. How do we then rely that our retailers carry on that consistent message and delivery and given that correct promise to our customers? It's training. We spend awful a lot of time training in every single market and empowering them to deliver those messages of our brands and products. So I think in service line, you can't stay still and say this is the standard. It evolves every day. It evolves so much that you've got to keep up with it. So for us as a travel company with diverse brand, the empowerment of our brand executive to further understand and deliver that service expectancy of our product, it's very key to our success.
Awesome, thank you. Right, so it's about training, allowing the staff to understand the cultural differences and train them very well, right?
Okay, good.
Hear from Ken right now. Yes,
Exactly.
thank you,
Okay,
Ken.
cool. Hello guys, I'm Ken. I'm from the Curious People Solution. So I'd like to also talk about something very interesting that's related to them. I think they're all very successful, very innovative company, and you can see one red thread running through, which is about customers. They were all focusing on customers, talking to them, and so forth. So our company focuses on design thinking, which is a human-centric innovation methodology, where the first stage of this whole design thinking process is about empathy. So this is a big, really interesting research technique that we are very interested in, about this empathy study. How do you capture data instead of just numbers, which you are very good at, because you know why? Because we're Singaporeans. We love to measure, we love to validate, you know, whatever we have, we like to measure. I think we are very good at that. Because I myself is very good with traditional research, which is survey and so forth.
That is just quantitative. So we are all about qualitative.
Yeah, so design thinking has qualitative research methods. So very interestingly, how do you capture data? We capture experience first. How do you capture experience? First thing, very common, everybody do that. When you go to a restaurant, if the food is good, the plating is good, what do? You take a picture, right? Yes, that's what we do, okay? To capture experience, we take a picture. Next, with the picture, what do we ask them to do? Storytelling. We get them to talk about the picture. Does everybody like to talk about your experience? Good and bad experience, we love to talk about it, right? Good experience, I love to brag about it. Bad experience, you like to talk about it or not? Yes, oh my God, you get so emotional and you complain about it, right? And all the emotional words comes out. That is very important. Because when we collect data, we are collecting what? Emotions. That's most important.
So those words would later on be used in marketing campaign, in strategy, what words not to use. If you want to trigger a certain emotion, these are the words that would relate with that audience that you're talking about, because they are using such words.
Yeah. So I just want to have one last point to make. So this is a little bit interesting in the sense that traditional way, we love to ask about different dimensions of experience. Let me just share with you, okay? If I open a restaurant, what will I ask? I must ask about food, right? I must ask about my ambience. I must ask about my drinks, my service. So we start with that. Segment by segment, very, very systematic. But for design thinking, it's the other way around. We ask about the experience. We let them talk about everything. At the end of it, we try to deconstruct what constitutes to the experience. That is different. Because it's exploratory. We start from the experience and we don't dictate what creates this experience. So that's the interesting part that I would like to share.
And then later on, after we find out what are the patterns that they are talking about, we then go back and redesign our survey questionnaires. Because perhaps we may be asking the wrong things. For example, or measuring the wrong things. We may ask them, oh, how clean are our restaurants from 1 to 6 or 1 to 5, let's say. So if you put 1 to 5, and they will put 3. So it's a neutral. So how? So how am I, a business owner, going to know how to improve? Or if they give you a 5 or 4, how do I know what does 4 going to 5 looks like? I wouldn't know. Nobody will know. So not that quantitative surveys are no good, okay? They have their use, but it's not to be used at this stage. So at this stage, it's to be using qualitative research. And if I may just very quickly, just add one more point. This is to do with adapting to different cultures when we go around the world. At the Ritz, we have a reverse psychology, reverse application to that part. Our very, very successful counterparts here have talked about how they adapt and into businesses around the world as they go around the world, right? So for the Ritz, we also have lots of hotels around the world, okay? You have the Ritz in Tokyo, Japan, Japanese. You have the Ritz in Saudi Arabia, right, the Arabian. You have it in Shanghai, in Beijing, in a lot of key Chinese cities, Chinese. So you also have Ritz-Carlton in Mexico, right? So I've just mentioned so many hotels. Every language, every religion, every culture, every nuances is different, right? But have you ever wondered if you were to make a call or step into a Ritz-Carlton in any one of them, and if you say, thank you, what would they reply you? They would say, my pleasure, correct? If you ask them for something, what would they say? They will always say, certainly, right? And this occurs everywhere in Tokyo, in Mexico, everywhere in the world. How did they do it? How can they get such consistent, luxurious communication? That is because of this thing called a persona-based selection. So they have cleverly crafted a way to recruit talent, to recruit people, such that they are able to, from those set of questions, identify natural attributes in that person that would best match or be aligned with the Ritz-Carlton's vision, mission, and values. So all these things, are already in the vision, mission, and values, and they have crafted questions that will align to it. So by interviewing him, I would know, oh, this person, is he a believer in, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, things like this. So that is how we also ensure that the consistency of the luxury brand and the quality and the standard has to be maintained. Regardless if you are Japanese or you are African or whatever, it's not about, it's all about the brand. So everything, there must be a consistency. That's how we do it.
Thank you, Alfred and Ken. Thank you, and I'm sure that they are very good partner, right? They are complementing each other. One doing the song and one doing the dance, and vice versa. A round of applause for Ken and Alfred. I'm going to skip the last question, but I think I'm going to give a little bit more time to the audience. Any questions from the floor, please? Come on, prove Sabrina wrong, right? Question from the floor. It's rare opportunity to be able to have so many experts in different fields. Any questions from the floor? Wow. No? Okay, I'm going to ask the last question, but I think I'll keep it optional for the panel to answer. I know that with the advent of technology, there's a lot of disruption in every industry, right? So in particular in the industry, are you afraid of disruption ongoing? And also, how are you going to counter this disruption? I think from the audience point of view, I'm sure they are very curious to know as well, because they are also having this fear in them in running their businesses. And so maybe you'll be randomly answer. So whoever wants to answer first can actually choose to answer. Yep.
So at Hegen, we view disruptors as making a difference in an impactful way. And it has to be in a positive way. Yeah. So we believe that, as long as we continue to innovate, keep on having a curious mind, and I think that is the way to go. We should actually be disruptors. So we view ourselves as disruptors of our industry because we reimagine a milk bottle, a breastfeeding solution in a total new way. revolutionize how people actually envisage the product should be used. So I think we should encourage, and we should, continue to disrupt. Yeah.
Right, I may just add that we need disruptors to improve, because without disruption, you'll be pretty comfortable in what you do all the time. We have a brand called Scanteak for 18 to 35. And these are the guys who constantly disrupt the business, and they constantly reconstruct and deconstruct what we have done. So obviously, for us, it's a very big part of our innovation, because if you've been in the business for 40 years, you'll probably be looking at a pretty straight line. And unless this disruptor come and tell you that what you've done is not right, and you're going to be out of business in no time, you're going to be in serious trouble. So for us, we have actually invited, for example, we get polytechnics and students who go and work in our chateaus. They become our auditors. These young people, they audit our service, rather than getting some senior guys and think that we know a lot. So we get them to audit, and we send them to our chateau for 3 months, 6 months, and they come and tell us, what you have done is totally wrong. You won't impress us. So we need that kind of people. And also for travel, OTA, all right? The traditional travel agents are doing the brick and mortar business. But the OTA empowers consumers to search, research. And very often, I'm sure many of you who walk into a travel agent in Singapore, you probably know a lot more than travel consultants, because you've already done your research. So the technology part of it is a very key thing, and training and empowering the young entries and attract young entries to the travel industry is very much our passion as well. And yesterday I was just talking to Pacific Asia Travel Association how to attract and retain young people in the service industry, because particularly in Singapore, it's very tough. No parents want the kids to be serving in a particular area, because they all want them to be doctors, lawyers, and researchers. But for us, that is the core of our business, and to get them, we've got to get them young, inspire them, motivate them, and show them the way. And I would like somebody mentioning about sustainability, tourism sustainability. It's about empowering them to choose what they think they are good at, and along the way, they will find what they like. I mean, I started off as a licensed aircraft engineering trainee, understanding all the fan blades. So I don't know why I end up in travel industry, because I figure out that it's that when the engine don't work well, and different fan blades that don't go well in the combustion chamber, you know what can happen. So I decided to switch to take care of human being in a more fun way. So travel kind of suit me.
Okay.
For us, I went to Taobao in Hangzhou, and they said that one of the top purchases that Singapore makes on Taobao are household products, including furniture. There are a lot of disruptors out there, and I think for us, we try to stay nimble. So obviously we have our e-commerce, and most importantly, I think my father always tells us to remember your unique selling point. While you stay nimble, you need to know why customers still buy from you. So for example, people buy on Taobao because it's very cheap. But for us, we try to provide value by economies of scale. And when you buy Taobao, 50% of the chances are that your products won't be as perfect as it looks in the picture, and so we provide after-sales service. So there are many things like that we have to remember where we are from, but also keep innovating. So we have already done augmented reality. We have also done a lot of improvements on our website, just so that once any new disruptions come, we are ready to learn and to embrace. So I think it's a continuous learning journey.
Okay, I'm going to say something. Okay, we are in the business of disrupting, definitely. So design thinking creates the disruption. So let me share with you one simple case, okay? I think you guys are familiar with this. Do you remember we used to have handphone and the messages comes in, it get organized in inbox and outbox? Do you remember that? Okay, some of you guys don't because you are so young. Okay, we used to have these messages coming in for our handphone, right? It organizes in inbox and outbox, right? It's like our office, right? Very organized, right? Inbox and outbox. But right now, iPhone is something that born out of design thinking. How are messages now? Becomes conversational, right? Become conversational. Which one is the better way, you think? The previous way or the new way? The conversational one is better, right? How dangerous the inbox and outbox if you have mistresses is dangerous, right? You don't even remember, you have to refer back inbox, outbox to understand the conversation, right? Okay? Now it's much easier, right? You can remember exactly what was being spoken earlier on, correct? Okay? So you see, design thinking focuses on what? People. While the previous way, we focuses on problem. We try to organize and solve the problem. And we use our past experience. Remember, we were very good at organizing our documents in our office. Inbox and outbox, right? Let's do the same for our messages. So we do that. So that's the difference. So I think to disrupt, we must focus on people.
By the way, that is design thinking for the creative world, and that's basically belongs to the school of thought from Stanford. And it was David Kelly who helped Steve Jobs employ some of the empathy tools in design thinking to really observe very deeply into how we use the phone, you see. And that was how it came about, that disruption. Yeah.
Sabrina, you want to add, Sabrina?
I think all of us in this room, or from now on, you should take disruption as the new normal. Look at who is the biggest payment gateway in the world today. They don't own a bank. It's actually Ali, right? And Uber own the most transportation. So it totally disrupted, the way we used to live. But it's very important you disrupt yourself before others disrupt you, which is one of the core mission in skinning is to be the Apple of the skincare industry. I often remind my people, you need to constantly rethink, look across industry, be it education. So I talked to a few professors earlier on, and you learn from people from different trades, because you can't be just focusing on your own industry, because there's good learning from different industry. Like today in the panel, we really learn from, travel, how people, human management is a key asset, from the size of the store. So I think it's very important that we just need that mindset change, start with us first. And just to give you a very important case studies in skinning is that we have a very famous device that is you can do a facial on a plane for 10 minutes. You can do it for your boyfriend, you can do it at home. When I first implemented this, my whole team was screaming because a lot of our customer is our treatment customer, which means I'm telling you, don't come in for treatment anymore, buy this and do it yourself at home. But because of that, then the human resource in retail really become a serious problem, retail become a serious problem, and because of that, now I could sell this service 24/7 across the world. So this is a real case study that we experienced that we need to disrupt ourselves constantly.
Awesome. Can we have a big round of applause for the panel? I'm sure today you have gained more what you expected, right from the beginning. They have shared so much inside story. I think what Sabrina said rightfully wrap up the whole discussion. Disruption is a norm, and we got to embrace it. We got to leverage on it. We got to learn from across industry so that we will not be yesterday brand. So we need to constantly evolve ourselves, innovate ourselves to strengthen our core. And also when you internationalize, we need to contextualize to different markets, because different markets behave differently from a human point of view, from an experiential point of view. Thank you so much once again for the panel, and a big round of applause again.